Hi, I'm Pat Gelsinger, CEO of VMware. I'd like to welcome you to our America's vForum Online Spring 2019. Today's event is designed to update you on the latest VMware technology and to connect you with our IT experts. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you to submit your questions in the Q&A box found in the lower half of your screen, and we'll be answering your questions during this online vForum. Let's dive in. This is what I'll call the age of the superpowers. We used to think about superpowers as nation states. Today, technology superpowers are the things driving the industry forward in more powerful ways than ever before. And I see these four: cloud, just unimaginable scale; mobility, unfathomable reach; AI and machine learning, the ability to bring intelligence to everything; and finally, edge and IoT, the ability to bridge between the physical and the digital world as never before. And not just are these each individually superpowers, but they're combining together to accelerate each other as we look to the future. We believe as a tech industry, we also have a high calling to help shape these technologies as forces for good. I love technology. I've been a technologist for almost 40 years, but fundamentally, technology is neutral, neither good nor bad, and it can be shaped and used for good and bad. And it's our job as a tech industry to be that force for good, to take these powerful capabilities, the superpowers, and to be shaping them as forces for good. And that's what we call tech as a force for good. VMware, we're on an incredible journey, and we call it our Any vision. Any device. There's a range of devices, including increasing embedded and IoT devices. A range of applications, cool, sexy new ones and old, boring ones. But every new application is bringing those two together for a complete set of services for the customer. And any cloud, these powerful capabilities, but some might be private, public, telco, edge, combined together by a powerful network. And increasingly, and as we'll touch on today, we must build it with intrinsic security. We have to be making that infrastructure and those devices themselves intrinsically more secure. We're off to answer these 5 questions for customers, and we call these our priorities. Every customer needs a hybrid cloud infrastructure. We can help you build it. Every customer will have a multi-cloud future. We can help you manage it. Every customer needs to be able to build cloud-native applications for the future. We can help you build those. Everyone will have a multi-cloud environment that needs to be networked and secured. We're uniquely positioned to help you run that environment. And finally, you need to operate and deliver that for this transformation of your workplace. And we can help you do that. These 5 questions really sort of form the basis of our strategy. And let's look at each one in a little bit more detail. The first, consistent infrastructure and consistent operations, building and operating a hybrid cloud. What we're off doing is really helping customers to be able to build that hybrid cloud future. And we really talk about it as the hybrid cloud, this combination of public and private resources in a seamless, interoperable fashion so that you, for your business needs, can decide what goes on-premise or what can be in the cloud. And I like to call it the 3 laws of the hybrid cloud. Why do you decide to put some things here and some things there? 1, the laws of physics. If I need 50 millisecond latency and it's 200 milliseconds to the cloud and back, I can't do that. The laws of physics say I have to move it closer to the point of telemetry or the source of the data. Second, the laws of economics. Right? How many cat pictures do I need to take to and from the cloud? But the important surveillance pictures I do need to take to the cloud. And you need to be able to have that ability to keep things local, as well as leverage the precious bandwidth and resources that you have in a cost-effective way. And the third is the laws of the land. As I say, some geographies, some countries just demand that their data be present in their country. or have certain regulatory requirements on where it operates and which networks it's on. And this idea, right, dictates that your infrastructure be able to have that being presented. And of course, the laws of the land can change as well. So you need a hybrid infrastructure that enables you to adapt and adjust to the changes that may occur. Because maybe networking costs change, maybe the performance requirements change, and of course, laws of the land will change as well. A hybrid infrastructure enables the flexibility to be able to respond to the three laws as you look to the future infrastructure requirements. How do we do that? Well, the underpinning is what we call VMware Cloud Foundation, this consistent infrastructure that's built on the world's best ingredients. And as we would call it, the VMware Cloud Foundation is the integration of compute, network, storage, and management automation. And you can get it as an integrated appliance. This bundling of hardware and software and VxRail and VxRack provide that as a complete integrated solution where we've done the work of integrating it together for you. Now, one of the things that we're doing is saying, can we take that same set of capabilities and extend it to the edge? And with that, we're moving what we'll call the compute edge. We're building that appliance capability with VxRail, but we're also managing it from the cloud in a consistent way. And this is what we call Dimension. Proven VMware Cloud Foundation running on proven hardware, but being able to be managed from the cloud. And you could put that in your data center, maybe a remote branch, or all the way to the edge. This is piece one of the VMware Edge strategy, move the compute edge. The second piece of our strategy is move the device edge. And as we'll talk about a little bit later in our conversation today, we have our Workspace ONE solution for the human connected devices. But what about the embedded or the machine connected devices? And that's Project Pulse. It allows us to take that management plane and move it to these very high scale environments. And we now support over 500 million devices in one Pulse instance. Incredible scale as you move to have high numbers of devices and different use cases at the edge. And the final piece of our edge strategy is move the network edge. And we're doing this through our SD-WAN solution, VeloCloud. And we've added to our NSX family of products the ability to have a networking edge that's fully managed, that moves you from expensive and fixed MPLS resources, for instance, to an agile cloud-based wide area network solution. And that's what VeloCloud does. These three taken together, the compute edge, the network edge, and the device edge, forms a robust and a complete offering for any edge solution. So let's look at multi-cloud. Today we're seeing a torrid pace of cloud innovation, and the average customer today in the enterprise has 8 different clouds, and it's expected to go over 10 over the next several years. How do you manage all of those different cloud resources? Everyone needs a consistent multi-cloud management solution and architecture. And that's exactly what we're doing today, is building out that solution. And you look at this picture, it's not just that you have 8 different clouds, but you have thousands of different applications. You're trying to operate many different services inside of it. You have different pieces of developers and automation. How do you bring that full picture together into a single solution? That's what Cloud Health does. It unifies this cloud operations environment, because you need to be able to say, how am I using my different clouds? Which data and services am I putting where? How do I manage cost across those? How do I make sure that my developers are operating consistent with the policies that I would have for compliance as well? All of that taken together is VMware's Cloud Health platform, where we're building the richest, most complete multi-cloud management solution in the industry, so you can embrace and use these cloud resources, but still have control, compliance, cost management, and a deep set of analytics to be able to operate them effectively. The third question that we believe everyone needs to answer in their cloud journey is, how do I develop my next generation cloud native applications? We believe there are radical exciting, transformative breakthroughs in this area, and we're out to make those enterprise grade for you. When you think about this, the world of applications and middleware has largely been governed by the Java abstraction that was first innovated about 2 decades ago. The first Java Development Kit 1.0 released in January of 1996. And essentially, Java middleware has defined how people develop their applications, deploy them, patch them, upgrade them for the last 2 decades. Today, Kubernetes is that new middleware abstraction. The combination of containers plus a Kubernetes and cluster management environment, we believe, is that next framework. And we at VMware are embracing that aggressively because we believe that it will help transform the Java world of today. It will also create this consistent management environment and give new capabilities into the application layer, but also a new API that automates and manages how infrastructure and hardware is leveraged into the future. And all of this is done in a multi-cloud way. We are out at VMware to create and deliver the enterprise-grade dial tone for Kubernetes. And we're just thrilled that we now have the most robust and complete set of offerings that enable that world to occur. We've been building with our pivotal partners a solution called PKS. And this solution brings together key capabilities from Pivotal, combined with NSX and key open source technologies to deliver a Kubernetes runtime environment that is enterprise grade. We recently acquired Heptio, and Heptio was the leading provider, and 2 of the 3 founders of Kubernetes founded Heptio. And they're leading in CNCF and the open source Kubernetes community and helping to drive and create this rapidly evolving Kubernetes environment. And that's called PKS Essentials, basic capabilities of Kubernetes that we'll be providing support for. And finally, if you want us to run your Kubernetes environment, that's called Cloud PKS. So enterprise grade, industry standard open source, or as a cloud service. All of that bringing together and delivering a complete Kubernetes environment that's compliant and consistent with upstream Kubernetes and enterprise grade. This enables you to, 1, say yes to your developers, deliver a modern, container-centric, microservices-capable Kubernetes environment for them to develop against, but also to be able to automate and create an environment that the infrastructure is more agile and flexible and API-driven than ever before. Bridging those 2 worlds, a powerful capability that VMware is uniquely able to bring forward, enabling IT and developers to get along and be productive as never before. Every customer needs to think about their networking and security architecture for the future. My networking world used to be simple, bound to the edges of my data center, and I selectively moved in and out. In today's world, everything has changed about that. It's a multi-data center, multi-cloud environment where my applications are increasingly microserviced and delivered across a broader and broader set of capabilities. I was recently with a major bank CIO, and I asked him, how many server vendors do you use? 2. How many storage vendors? 2. How many networking vendors? Wireless, branch, campus, I think it's 4. How many security vendors? 250. Wow, this world simply cannot work for the future. And we're out to deliver and create a transformation in networking that's software defined and security that's intrinsic. And that combination, we believe, is a powerful view for the future. Think about even a simple application as we think about the future of applications in this powerful superpower era. A hard hat. How many of you have ever worn a hard hat? Protects your head, right? Well, a modern hard hat is a complete heads-up AR, VR display. And how many of you wanted to have X-ray vision when you were kids? I know I did. Now, you actually get it. So this simple idea of a hard hat becomes a very complex application world for the future. And it's not defined by just how the database is going to talk to the middleware. This is a complex application, an application world where the network has become the application, where you have old databases, you have existing services, and modern and new. How do I bring all of those pieces together? Look at this complexity of the security industry. Over 4,000 products by over 2,500 vendors. How do you possibly put all of that together? That poor CIO with 250 security vendors, how do you just even keep them patched and upgraded and tested and validated with each other? And almost every security breach happens at the seams between those products. We simply need a better world to do it. And for that, we at VMware are building intrinsic security. We're taking many of those products and integrating them into our core platforms. Microsegmentation, intrinsic identity and security management for the endpoints, being able to have native encryption in the storage array, being able to self-inspect and manage the VMs in the compute capability. Every one of these is simplifying that security picture for the future. As I recently said at the RSA conference, I said, everyone should have their number of security products. When you get done doing that, have it again. And you're probably at 1/4, almost got it to the point that you actually can effectively manage and operate those environments. That's what intrinsic security is about, reducing the attack surface, focusing on the apps and the data, and really building app centricity into the security model. I also said, boy, you should fire all your security people and hire them back after they've built an application. And this idea of intrinsic security, expect more from your infrastructure vendors, require them to be building and delivering those capabilities intrinsically. Fewer products and a lot more security in the process. The fifth of our solution areas that we're focused on is the integrated digital workspace. Every journey of employee empowerment, productivity, and digital transformation begins with the experience that you deliver to your customers and employees. And for that, we're off to solve a world that simply has become much too complicated. Think about all the devices that you have that your employees and your users need to be able to operate it. Some Windows, some Apple devices, some Android, different experiences like VDI, but then you have to solve all of these different issues for each one of them. How you firewall them, how you manage them, patch them, secure them. And think about all the different technologies for each one of those different device experiences. We simply call that nuts. How do you deliver a modern experience across all of those devices? We simply call it consumer simple and enterprise secure, and that's what Workspace ONE provides, bringing all of those pieces together into a single capability that gives one management plane for all the devices and user experiences, and a consistent user experience independent of what their device is on. This enables you to deliver an acceleration of new applications to your customers, consistent security and identity across all of those, and a better experience for your IT department to be able to manage and operate those environments. Powerful capabilities through Workspace ONE. And we're also working with our Dell partners to integrate that so it's even out of the box. So you can get a new Dell laptop and boom, all you'd put in is a credential and everything else comes from the Workspace ONE cloud, the full software load, the full provisioning, complete up-to-date and patched software, and a full management environment to go with it to keep it that way. Truly transforming the user experience, reducing the burden on IT, and providing that consistently across a full range of devices. If we come back to where we started our discussion today, the superpowers. Every business needs to think about, how do I position myself so that these superpowers are working for me? We're in an environment where the largest car company owns no cars. The largest hotel company owns no hotels. They're finding out how to leverage these superpowers and deliver compelling new business value for their customers. This is a world where the superpowers are changing everything. I call it IT breaking out of IT, where every aspect of the business is now being touched by these technologies. And the opportunity for you is immense. As we think about the core infrastructure capabilities and the relationship that we've had with many of you for years and years, and the business value that we've brought. In the same way, as we created the virtual administrator, it's now very much that these roles are so critical to the CEO, to the CXO, to the line of business leader, where your skills and your capabilities become more important. Because as every one of those strategies is forming, they need people who understand the tech and how it works underneath the cover. So harnessing these superpowers for the business gives tremendous opportunities for each one of you to be able to expand, deliver, and implement business value as never before. They need what you're so capable and good at. And we've worked together now for many years in creating those skills and capabilities. To continue your IT journey, I invite you to attend our upcoming breakout sessions to acquire insight, knowledge, and practical advice on each one of these topics. You'll have the opportunity to chat live with VMware experts, test drive the latest VMware technology through our hands-on labs, and connect with your peers by visiting the exhibit hall. I hope you'll enjoy this event, and I look forward to your active participation. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining Pat Gelsinger's keynote today. As Pat discussed the journey of continuing the technology, goodness, it's going live, the technological transformation of our future, we were excited today to do live chat with you. So today on live webcam, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jody Sheely. I'm a principal TAM at VMware in the office of the CTO for the global field. And I'd also like to introduce Kim Jans.
Hi, I'm Kim Jans. I'm also a principal technical account manager for VMware.
And then I'd also like to introduce Matt Vandenbelt. Matt?
Hi, Matt Vandenbelt, Senior Staff Solutions Architect with VMware.
And also we have another Matt on here as well. We have Matt Ronsman. Matt?
As I always say, the more Matts, the better, basically. So my name is Matt Ronsman. I'm a global solutions consultant. I've been with VMware for about 8 years now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're not only, we're on live webcam, but we also have awesome team supporting us in the background, from chief technologists to CTO ambassadors. So we'll be here both on webcam, like I said, and we queued up a couple questions. So if you haven't seen your question get answered yet, we're queuing up a couple of them. So let's just get started. Let's start at the bottom, one of the ones that we got earlier in the discussion. Kim, how to get a good head start with VMware Cloud training?
Yeah, well, I think training in general, right? So we have a lot of resources that you guys can use in order to get up to speed on technology or kind of move into that more advanced stage. So the first place to look always is the VMware website. We have a lot of webinars listed there under the resources tab. Next, always go to MyLearn. MyLearn is going to have a mix of paid for and free resources that you're going to be able to do. A lot of them are self-paced. So if you want to just get in, understand the technology, and start to work towards a certification, MyLearn is a great place to do that. And then the other place you want to look is on our digital learning, right? So we have the Learning Zone that you can go in, which has videos, white papers, content, tons of stuff that you can do, also webinars. So, and that'll cover any technology that VMware has or that VMware is working with.
And hands-on lab. Hands-on lab.
Hands-on
awesome.
labs
so yes,
is really
can't forget
great.
about hands-on labs.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that question. Next question that we have queued up for you guys is from Robert. What is the best products to create a private cloud with VMware? Kim, would you like to answer that one as well, or should we hand that one over to Matt?
I can do it, Matt. Do you want to?
All right, vCloud Matt, that's yours.
Oh, vCloud Matt, okay. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of options for private cloud. I mean, it really depends on your definition of what a private cloud is. If you're just looking to have automation within your data center, our vRealize automation stack is fantastic for that. It involves vRealize automation, some vRealize orchestration, plain vSphere. We're also coming out with things like our Dimension products, some of other stuff that we're bringing data center to you, that helps to work on your on-prem type stuff. But yeah, really for your own private cloud, it really depends. The basics of vSphere, NSX, vSAN, and then on top of that, you can develop your own private cloud. You can use VRA. You can do a lot of things.
And I I think just to add to Matt, the technology is great. If you do VMware Cloud Foundation, VVD, those are all great ways to start your own private cloud. But when you're thinking about private cloud, hybrid cloud, whatever it is, people process is really the bigger piece of any kind of initiative related to that. The technology part's the easiest part. The part that's going to be harder for most organizations is understanding your governance, your change processes. Do your monitoring solutions today work within an environment where you're possibly looking at your own cloud plus bringing in external clouds? Do you have the people trained and knowledgeable on the solutions that you're going to be bringing in? And how is this going to change how they do their jobs day to day? Those things are really critical to making your cloud successful. We can give you all the technology in the world, tons of services. If you don't have the initiative internally to look at people and process, your cloud's just not going to be successful.
Right. Great. Thanks for answering both of those questions, you guys. That was a good answer. We're going to just queue up the next question. So another question that just came in, it's around network and security. Is it based on NSX-T or V? Matt R., would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely. So with regard to NSX, traditionally we have had the V version, which stands for vSphere. So NSX V is the version that's more long-standing, and it is specific to vSphere. More recently, we are migrating or transitioning more towards the NSX T, which stood for transformers. That version will be the version going forward. So V is not going away, but T is going to be kind of the version going forward. So we've gotten T up to the perspective where it's about feature function equivalent with the V version, and T is a multi-hypervisor version as well. So it's not only for vSphere. It is for multiple different hypervisors, as well as NSX from a branding perspective. There's NSX Cloud as well. So you have the ability with NSX to actually loop in a virtual machine using an agent that's running natively in AWS or Azure. So you have NSX ability across the gamut there. So from a security perspective, though, both T and V have very similar characteristics in being able to micro-segment virtual machines one from the other, to have a firewall effectively between every single virtual machine in your environment. So security is not a T or V thing. It's actually an NSX thing in general. VMware Cloud on AWS is now migrating over to the T version as well.
Thank you so much, Matt. That was great. So we're just going to keep on going with the Q&A. You guys can keep sending us questions, and we'll keep answering them live here for the next 20 minutes or so. So the next question that we have in the list that's queued up for us is, what other things should we consider when building a hybrid cloud in addition to the technology? So I think we probably can all speak on this one. And I know Kim had a great experience recently, if you want to share that. And then we can also have vCloud Matt chime in on this one as well.
Yeah, again, people process. My customer has been implementing the hybrid cloud right now with VMware. And the biggest thing for them is, how do we have to change how they're managing their day-to-day environment? What does it mean as they migrate from that legacy environment into the hybrid cloud? We have services, in the case of my customer, coming in from VMware to help them with the organizational pieces. So what are those organizational changes they need to make in order to be successful? We have PSO coming in to work with them around some of the things around process change related specifically to things like change control. How do I determine where a workload should go? Is it better served going into my hybrid cloud or a public cloud? And what is the decision criteria that I use for that? And then enablement, right? We're going to be, you're going to implement a cloud, you're going to get a lot of technology. So how do I ensure that my customer is able to, hit the ground running day one and be able to continue to support it through day two?
And you want it to be purposeful too, right?
Yeah.
Is it for backup and just, recovery? Are you moving it small workloads to close down data centers? And then also the technology and budgetary concerns around egress charges, and are the workloads close to where they need to be?
Yeah.
Matt,
vCloud
Matt. Yeah, that's true. vCloud Matt, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that was a fantastic summation. I think that doing things in the hybrid cloud require you to have a very good fundamental understanding of your applications and where they move. And we have some products that definitely help with that. VNRI on-prem or Network Insight as a SaaS offering to help you identify which applications talk to which, because you don't want half of the application in the public cloud and half in the private cloud, because you're just going to lead to some problems, right? So, and if you go and talk to a lot of your application developers, they may tell you that they think they know what's talking to everything, but now you're adding latency, you're adding hops in the way, you're adding bandwidth consideration. So there is, people kind of think of the technology pieces, we just plug it together, but there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it that requires you to have a very good understanding of what's going on to get that level of service to your customer. But that said, as Kim said as well, you could get actually better because you can get your stuff closer to your end users as well, right? So again, it requires more of a fundamental understanding of your applications than necessarily, in some cases, the infrastructure teams do, but we have tools and people and processes to help with that.
Yeah, the vRealize Network Insight is a big piece of what my customers using to start to understand those interdependencies, because I think everybody thinks we know what stuff talks to what, but when we actually get in and have to figure it out,
we have to map it out. Exactly.
Surprisingly, not everybody knows.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Thanks, you guys. These are really great questions, and so we're just going to keep moving along. We have another really great question come in from Louise. Is there a VMware training specifically for identifying performance issues and how to address them? I just want to say I can't speak more enough about going back and listening to previous VMworld sessions. There's a ton of great sessions out there by Mark Atchumik, and I might have butchered his last name, but there's hands-on labs that I can't speak more about. There's also, we have VMware YouTube TV, and there is a ton of the older sessions on there that you can really get into the performance areas. But not only that, the performance best practices. We have the performance best practices white papers almost on every version that include and adapt it to all of our products. And so I highly suggest you go out and check out those white papers and then make sure that you're following all the best practice to get the best performance. And Kim, anything to add?
Yeah, I would say too, if you're a VROPS user, obviously that's going to be someplace you're going to want to leverage to start to look at performance issues.
Absolutely.
There's great training on troubleshooting with VROPS. I believe it's a 3 or 4 day MyLearn class that you can take. We'll talk about how to leverage VLANs. So I would definitely look at something like that as well. vRealize Network Insights, another solution that probably can help with some troubleshooting as well. But definitely anything with Mark Atimichuk, those sessions at VMworld are fantastic. If you have a TAM, a technical account manager, ask your technical account manager about Mark. He loves to do customer stuff too. So sorry, Mark, if you're watching.
I will say that all the VMworld presentations, you don't have to have been a VMworld attendee to see those after the fact as well. So if you guys want to go back and see any VMworld presentation, we make those publicly available after the fact. And actually on performance things, I'll just, simplify it. It's always a network. That's all you need to know.
It's a good one.
The physical network.
Yeah, right.
So I'm just going to keep going along because we've got a lot of great questions coming in here. There's a good question by Celeste. Are there any plans to bring back the agent for vSphere? I'm hoping you're really not talking about the thick client because that's long gone. And the web interfaces pose some real challenges with 6.7. Celeste, we'd like you to reach directly out to us, and we'd really like to figure out what kind of challenges you're going through and how we can help you. So if you want to direct message us your email, and we'll definitely follow up because we'd really like to figure out what's going on there, because we're having a lot of success now with the new HTML5 client. So we'd really like to dig into your issues. Thank you for the question. All right, moving right along here. Next, we have another good question from Eric. In regards to composable infrastructure to host VMware on, are there some recommendation or best practices for the new pod style architectures? Matt R., would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely. So composable is definitely a great new technology, and actually I cover HP, who's one of the innovators in composable infrastructure, and we've done a lot of work with all of our OEM vendors out there on getting the latest and greatest, whether it be Synergy or Dell or anybody else so that has a composable infrastructure, get that on the hardware compatibility list. So always make sure that everything that you do with VMware is on the HCL, especially when a VMware Cloud Foundation environment is coming into play. But it's really, I mean, if it's on the HCL, it's going to work with your vSAN type interfaces. All the things that you typically run into, a lot of them are traceable back to the HCL. So there's a number of white papers out there from the various vendors specific to composable infrastructure. So being that this is a newer style architecture, those were a little delayed in coming out, but those are definitely available out there today. And so there's some good information out there.
Thank you, Matt. That was a great answer. So we'll move around. We have a good question from Luis. How does VMware look 10 years from now with the strategy of Kubernetes? Oh, this is a good one. So given that Pat just spoke about our Kubernetes strategy and how we're tightly entwined with Kubernetes, let's start with you, Matt, vCloud Matt. Let's get your perspective on what VMware is going to look like in 10 years with our Kubernetes strategy.
Well, I mean, 10 years is several lifetimes in technology.
Light years in the industry right now.
So, I mean, it's very,
flying
very tough to
proper
kind of to say. I mean, now in the shorter term is, I think you're already starting to see what's happening, and that's, we're becoming more, we're going back to our roots a little bit and being, extremely developer friendly and embracing a lot of those technologies. Now, at the end of the day, when you kind of look at Kubernetes and some of those things, it still kind of runs in a VM construct. A container is kind of a VM. It's a workload, right? So where we aim to be with VMware is to be kind of agnostic a little bit about that workload you run. We just help you manage it and run it efficiently, whether you choose Kubernetes or whatever replaces Kubernetes, because there's going to probably be something else in the next few years. That's kind of how fast that world lives. That we just want to provide you with the tools and the infrastructure and the policies and procedures and management around your applications, and be more in tune with your applications to deliver the services you need to your customers, to your businesses, right? We want to kind of move that conversation up. So I think what you'll see from VMware in the future, and it's a little bit related to Kubernetes, but kind of not, is we're getting and continuing to get more in tune with Wavefront and Kubernetes into the actual application layer to be able to deliver more application aware type services to service your business. I think that's what you'll see more from us.
Perfect. Thank you. And then next we have a question from Michael. What are the minimum proof of concept requirements to migrate VMs between on-prem vSphere 6.7 and VMware on AWS? vCloud Matt, since I know this is your space, I'm going to hand this one over to you.
Sure. So if we're talking a live vMotion between your on-prem 6.7 and your VMware Cloud on AWS infrastructure, you're going to need what we call hybrid linked abode configured. And there's two different options using the cloud gateway or just configuring it via the UI. And the basic limitations of vMotion over the cloud is there. So I think it's like 100 and something milliseconds of latency. Now, to be fully supported to go from your on-premise to VMware Cloud on AWS, you will require a direct connect connection. So you have to have a direct connect established between your on-premises and VMware Cloud to be a fully supported vMotion. It works if you don't, but that's the fully supported way of doing things. The other option you have is using our product called HCX, which comes free with VMware Cloud at AWS. It facilitates essentially the same thing as a live vMotion, but it has other technologies that make it available not over a direct connect, or it has other bulk migration options as well. So hopefully that answers the question.
So I want to highlight one other thing. I mean, just to point it out, you have the ability, you mentioned it several times, Matt, but you have the ability to live migrate a virtual machine from your on-premises into the cloud. Like, there's no downtime. I just want to highlight that, because that is the mind-blowing hybrid cloud story that people don't always consider, is that you really can take a virtual machine that's running right now, move it up into the cloud, and have zero downtime as part of that. So that's something that's worth definitely highlighting. I also want to point out that you can do that with HCX from an older version of vSphere. So you can go, if you're running vSphere 5.5, you don't feel like upgrading your on-premises environment to the latest and greatest. You can take that 5.5 virtual machine and live migrate it up into VMC with zero downtime. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mats. Thank you, my double Mats. Next up, we have from Nelson. How can VMware assist me in stretching my VLAN subnets into alternate facilities to facilitate the migration of environments and or creating a stretch cluster across my wide area network? Matt R. How would you answer this question for Nelson?
Absolutely. Yeah. So NSX is the easy button for doing that. So with regard to taking a layer 2 type of environment and stretching it across that wide area, layer 3 connection, that's one of the central tenets of an NSX type of environment. So making that layer 2 connection and stretching that is a very simple thing with NSX. And we're talking about the migration topic that we just covered a minute ago. HCX also includes the ability to do the same kind of a thing to your environment because VMC uses NSX natively. You only need to have it with HCX on the one side. So on the source side, you don't need to have NSX. HCX will take advantage of the NSX on the far side, stretch out your layer 2 from your on-premises up into VMC and allow you to do that live vMotion. So you don't even need to buy NSX for your on-premises environment to be able to stretch your layer 2 up into VMC and to do those types of migrations. So NSX is obviously the key technology under the covers there.
Just to add quickly to that as well, because it's the Matt and Matt show. So we do have technologies around VeloCloud and the stuff around SD-WAN as well to help with some of the optimizations there. Stretching layer 2, we have the technology, but as Kim and Jody keep highlighting as well, just because we have the technology doesn't necessarily mean you should do it. There's a lot of latency considerations, and depending on how far and your latency, a stretch cluster might just not work, right? It's got a very tight 10 millisecond round trip requirement. So, just because you can sometimes doesn't mean you should. So,
absolutely. Thank you, Matt. And Matt, again, so we have a good question coming in from Andrew. Does VMware help with the integration with the people and the process? That's a great question. Kim?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have professional services that'll help you with both the people part, right? So how do I need to reorg my organization in order to make sure that I have the right people in the right places and they understand their roles and responsibilities? We also then take it the other way. If you're talking about physical integrations of the technology, we also have services that can help with that as well. The people part is, again, going to be the harder part, but we offer services that do roadmap and strategy planning, so we can help your organization develop a roadmap and strategy around some of the new emerging technologies as well as hybrid cloud technologies. And then we also have that next step. Now that you've set that vision and strategy, what are the things we have to do, help you internally with to make sure that you can do that? If you check out the VMware website, go under professional services, there'll be a tab at the top, and that'll give you access to all of the services we offer. The other service, again, I'll put a pitch in for Jody and I, technical account managers. We will definitely be there to help you guys make sure your people get what they need to be successful, help you to build and drive that roadmap, and then also help you with all of your day 2 stuff.
That's right. Woohoo, Tams. Okay, we'll move along. We have another great question from Manny. 2 thumbs up from Matt. Where would be a good place to start to begin migrating to an SD-WAN solution using VeloCloud? vCloud Matt, you want to grab this one for us?
That's an interesting question. I think with all things, the question starts with, so why are you building a WAN? What are you trying to accomplish? What are the requirements that you're trying to achieve with it? Are you extending a network between 2 locations for an application that can't change IP addresses or something? Or is this DR or availability? There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So I'd kind of get those out of the way first to figure out if VeloCloud and SD-WAN is the right solution for you. And then after that, I would involve your local VMware sales team to come in and be able to give you some more information around it and more particular to your environment. As Jody and Kim have stated before, there's lots of information on this on YouTube, from VMworld's Past or vMUG sessions or any of these kinds of things. So there's a lot of research you could do yourself to find information about it. To give you a basis of what it does. But again, I'd go back to figuring out why you're doing it, will it meet the requirements, and then working with your local account teams to either drive a POC or a pilot forward from there.
Oh, that's speaking of that. So that I'll just dive into a question then that kind of relates to that, Matt. Is there any cloud migration assessment tools and migration tools from VMware for public cloud migrations, AWS and Azure?
So I don't know if it's released yet, but it's coming very soon. So this might be a little insider information. Is we do have a migration hub becoming available. It's a little bit more particular to VMware Cloud on AWS to be able to run through the sort of tasks that you need to identify to migrate applications to the cloud. So that is definitely something that we are coming out with. It's something that we are looking to expand on as well. So short answer is kind of yes. And in the future will be definitely more robust. Again, we have a lot of other tools that will assist in a lot of these migrations. We do have some TCO and ROI type pages that'll help on that front, and technologies like we mentioned of VNRI and cloud health coming as well that can help you to do better assessments of what goes where most efficiently.
Thank you, Matt. We have a lot of great questions coming in on cloud. So just going to keep on moving, and I'll key you up next, Matt R. So for your cloud-based solutions, how is VMware working on addressing security standards such as federal FBI, the CJIS, the Criminal Justice Information Systems? I ask, as this is important for SLED customers that support public safety law enforcement agencies as a part of the customer base.
Yeah,
Well,
so for
I can help with
VMware,
that one too.
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so there is, if you go out to Solutions Exchange, there's and type CJIS, there's actually some documentation out there that talks about, it's a architecture framework around to be CJIS or cybersecurity compliant. The other thing I know for my customer is we again had professional services come in and help with looking at what they were around compliance with CJIS and NIST, and then help figure out what they want to set that at. So, but Matt, I'll give it to you.
vCloud Matt.
Oh, vCloud, I thought we were going to Matt R.
Oh, let's go, Matt R. We're giving you enough.
I could do, but let's go with Matt R.
Yeah, I'll pass it over to you, maybe to express a little bit more about VMC with regard to security. But I mean, federal business is a very important aspect of our business overall, right? So we've had for a long time a number of different white papers in a group entirely dedicated internally to standards like FedRAMP, like PCI, like HIPAA. So we have an entire separate vertical for federal business. We have a separate vertical for healthcare business, and so these standards and reporting as well are essentials that we've had in vSphere core, and as well as the expanding product set going on as far as that's concerned too. So I think on the Solution Exchange that Kim had mentioned, there's a lot more data on that. There was actually a compliance pack at one point in time that we're now integrating into VMware's operations that will actually do sort of an assessment based on whether or not your environment meets these PCI requirements or what are the gaps therein. But maybe vCloud, Matt, can you talk a little bit about VMC and compliance with regard to that?
Yeah, so in regards to the VMware Cloud and AWS suite, we are working extremely hard to get all of the compliances done. I believe we have FedRAMP now, PCI, SOC. There are a few, but as everybody knows probably out there, these things are hard. They take a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of people involved. So we are aiming to get all of those critical certifications on the platform. It's just taking time, and there's not much we can do about it, but we are definitely working diligently to get it done.
Thank you, Matt and Kim. So moving along on this cloud theme and talking about some of these compliance issues, just going down the list. Let's just jump over to there's another one from Scott. If you're starting out to obtain the VCP certification, what is the best path to get it? So that's a really good question. So we have the foundational training that Kim had mentioned earlier that you could go out and if you go out to our education website, we have a path and a nice outline of where to start if you want to go down your VCP with the free foundational training courses that we offer both on the Learning Zone as well as out on YouTube, and then MyLearn as well. And then we also have a full outline of how to progress through that stage from taking the class to studying for the certification and then actually registering and taking the test. So Kim, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, hands-on labs.
Oh, hands-on labs. Can't speak enough about that. Go out and definitely take the hands-on labs as well. But we hope that was helpful. All right, moving along. We have another good question. So If you, from Mohammed, how does VMware plan for independent cloud existence, public and private? Oh, that's a good question on the cloud area. Let's go Matt R first.
So independent cloud existence, I guess I'm not entirely sure what that refers to.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what that means either.
I think maybe,
Wanna
and
hammer that?
I'm just kind of guessing is maybe he's meaning outside of a partnership, perhaps with AWS. I'm guessing, and then if that's where the question is we still do have our vCloud provider program that's running and been running for years and years and years, and that's part of the group that I work with as well now. So there is still a large amount of public clouds. Our old vCloud Air became spun off with the OVH or purchased by OVH. So there are a lot of public and private clouds that are run strictly by VMware products. VMware doesn't necessarily run them ourselves. Our partnership is currently with AWS. We are looking at other offerings for VMware managed private clouds. So there is stuff out there, if I'm interpreting that question correctly.
Yeah, and I would say that there's over 4,000
those
VCPP providers out there that are available. But I mean, there's also a badge that we at VMware provide to certain ones of those providers called a cloud verified badge. So if you look at cloud verified and the providers that are cloud verified, those are the ones that are leveraging our best practices on how to implement those clouds using VMware Cloud Foundation or whatnot. So so there are certainly different tiers of those, and Cloud Verified is a trusted partner with regard to the way they do things. So look for that as well.
Thank you. There's another one from I hope it's Jerry. I wanted to upgrade my vCenter to 6.5. From 6.5 to 6.7, but we have a mix of HPE blades, different generations, 6, 7, 8, or 7, 8, and 9. And I noticed the first two are not supported on 6.7. That means that VMware did not test or no longer test those blades. First, that hardware is end of life, and that's based off of our HCL. So you always know before you upgrade to please check the HCL first, because that's going to be the first place you'll find out what's supported and not supported. And you then continued, won't warranty that they will work fine. I won't be able to get support if any issue, or for sure they will fail. Well, you can buy what's called extended support, but we won't do extended support on end of life hardware. So if you are going to upgrade, you have an opportunity to either upgrade the hardware at the same time, or you can figure out if you can get an extended support, but we won't support hardware that's on end of life.
Just a quick clarifying
let's
point
say you
there.
did upgrade it. It probably would work, but the minute you call support with a problem, the first thing they're going to tell you is your support is not supported. So they're going to kind of bounce you back to the hardware vendor.
Yeah, and I just want to offer a quick clarifying point is we don't do that certification on the HCL. That is HP that does all those testing and informs us of what platforms it works on. So it's not like we didn't just stop testing stuff. This is from the vendor themselves.
Yeah. Right. So we hope that answered your question. Another one from Jim: zero downtime moving from vSphere to AWS. But what about the network? Is the VM now tromboning?
Short answer is it depends on where your gateway is. So yes and or no. So in a lot of those migration terms, yes, it would be tromboning, especially if you were to use HCX as well, because proximity routing is not quite into the product yet. It's coming. So that's why, we really work with people and talk with people and have PSO offerings and stuff and partner offerings around migration planning, right? Because, it is good to take as many pieces that talk together at one time, and then you can move where the gateway exists and remove that tromboning. But if you were to split an application kind of between on-prem and AWS here, sorry, I'm moving the wrong way on my camera. Yes, it would go back to wherever the gateway is first and come back. NSX offers some advantages with the distributed routing, but especially for crossing across layer 3, a lot of other conversations, but yes, possibly.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. I want to scroll back down. I apologize. I missed one from Raimundo. So this one is, what is the experience of NSX for environments like SCADA? Matt R., can you answer that? SCADA being industrial control systems used in things
Yeah,
like
right.
water treatment plants, power plants.
Sure. Yeah. So I live in Houston, so I used to cover oil and gas, and so SCADA came up quite a bit with regard to making sure that it's completely separate, and NSX is a key component of that. So being able to have a SCADA environment that maybe even is not necessarily completely air gapped from other environments is one of the opportunities that you have with NSX. So you can logically, using that micro segmentation, be able to commingle some environments and still have it be SCADA compliant. Inside of that space. So we have seen these scenarios inside the oil and gas type space, as well as other industries out there. And I'm not sure if there's any white papers on that, but we could certainly get you some more information about that. But it's not a new use case by any means.
Awesome. And you know what that did? That took us right to the end of the questions that we had queued up. So if you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask us live, we have our team here on the webcam, and we also have a team backing us up behind. So if there's some things that you'd like to share with us or ask us live, we're here waiting to talk to you and answer your questions. We'll wait and open it up. I'll give a minute, and let's see here. All right, we did get another question from, looks like Rico. If I have a previous version of VCP, a VCP4, is there a training solution to make my VCP current, or would I need to start from scratch? I would highly recommend you start from scratch, especially if you have VCP4, because there's a lot of differences between VCP4 and our current version. 6.5 Delta DCV, I believe, is the most recent one. And so I'd highly recommend you starting over, again, going down the same career path and following the outline that's recommended on our VMware education website that kind of outlines the processes and the foundational classes and the regular classes that you should attend to get the most updated information on the current version.
Plus, Rico, now back when it was VCP4, you really had one VCP option. Today, we offer multiple types of VCPs. You could get a network and security. You can be more data center focused. You can be more cloud focused. So I would definitely go look at the certification site and just look at the path and pick the path that's best based on where you see yourself kind of going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. Keep the questions coming in. We're really excited to be here, and we're really hoping that you guys liked both the web version and the on-chat version. And if you do, give us a thumbs up, and we'll continue to bring this format to you. All the questions I think that we had today. I want to really thank everybody for participating live. I want to thank our double Matts and thank Kim and of course our full background. We have a full background. We have Kale, Amanda, and Gary supporting us. So thank you to everybody supporting us on the back end as well. And we're really looking forward to your comments. And thank you so much for joining today. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.